Friday's practice was full of energy, but the real headline came from rookie Shamar Stewart. For the second straight day, he went right at Joe Burrow, and this time things got even more heated after that fight earlier in the week. Stewart opened up about what went down, and Burrow had a message of his own for the young defensive lineman. There's a lot to unpack from this, and we're breaking it all down for Bengals fans right here. Practice in Cincinnati got even more interesting when rookie Shamar Stewart once again found himself in the spotlight. Earlier in the week, he made contact with Joe Burrow, something every Bengals fan knows is a big no-no. It might have been unintentional, but you simply don't touch the franchise quarterback. Ted Karras wasted no time sending the rookie a message, and veteran Lucas Patrick made sure Stewart felt the consequences in the moment. But here's the twist. Stewart addressed the situation today, and his response gave us a glimpse of maturity you don't always see in a young player. After the dust settled, what he had to say showed he's taking accountability, and that could be an early sign of growth for the Bengals rookie. During practice, Shamar Stewart once again showed flashes of why the Bengals drafted him, creating pressure on Joe Burrow and looking disruptive up front. But on Wednesday, things got a little out of hand when Stewart slipped and made contact with the Bengals' star quarterback, sparking a brief fight on the field. Afterward, Stewart spoke about the moment, admitting it was a mistake and taking responsibility. He explained that he simply lost his footing and should have just gone down instead of stumbling into Burrow. What stood out, though, was how he handled it afterward. Stewart made sure to walk over to Burrow and apologize directly, letting him know it was purely accidental. And in true Joe Burrow fashion, the quarterback brushed it off with a cool response. "It's fine. Just save those hits for Sundays." That exchange turned a heated moment into a sign of respect, showing the rookie learned his lesson while still earning a nod from his QB. What really stood out was Burrow's calm response. That's classic Joe, turning a heated situation into motivation by saying, "Just make sure those hits happen on Sundays." It's that kind of leadership that sets the tone for the entire locker room. But here's the bigger picture. Shamar Stewart isn't just another rookie. The Bengals need him to be a difference maker on this defense. Think about it. Myles Murphy is still missing time. Joseph Osei is working his way back. And the Trey Hendrickson situation adds another layer of uncertainty. That leaves Stewart in a prime position to step up. The rookie has been disruptive, tough to handle, and versatile enough to line up in multiple spots. Even if he doesn't open the season as a starter, his snap count is going to be high enough that it will feel like he is one. The Bengals are counting on him to make an immediate impact, and so far, he looks ready for the challenge. With Myles Murphy sidelined again, Shamar Stewart saw plenty of extra reps, and he made the most of them. One of the highlights of practice came when Stewart exploded past Cody Ford and would have had a clean sack on Joe Burrow. That type of quickness off the line is exactly what the Bengals envisioned when they drafted him. Another big moment came from the trenches. Lucas Patrick got knocked backward on a play where Joseph Osai was already holding his ground, and Chris Jenkins came crashing in to finish it off. It was a powerful reminder of how deep this defensive front can be when everyone is healthy. Still, the offense answered back in a big way. Joe Burrow settled in, and the Bengals' passing attack clicked. Rookie Iosivas turned heads with multiple grabs, including a contested deep ball over Cam Taylor-Britt, one of the most impressive plays of the afternoon. It was clear the offense won the overall battle, but Stewart's disruptive presence kept the defense in the spotlight. The highlight of the day came from none other than Jamar Chase. With Josh Newton draped all over him in tight coverage, Chase stopped on a dime, adjusted, and somehow hauled in a touchdown while keeping multiple feet in bounds. It was the kind of play that only Chase can make. Pure body control, elite instincts, and jaw-dropping execution. Even former Bengals legend Chad Johnson noticed, calling him the GOAT on social media. And honestly, it's hard to argue. Chase continues to look every bit like the best receiver in football. But while Chase delivered the fireworks, there's still a real concern for Cincinnati up front. The guard spot continues to stand out as a weakness, especially when injuries hit the offensive line. Orlando Brown Jr. missed Wednesday's practice, and Amarius Mims was limited with a hand issue. Without that stability, the margin for error in the trenches feels razor thin. If the Bengals want to keep Burrow upright and maximize this offense, addressing the guard position has to be on the radar. Whether it's through depth signings or moving pieces around, Cincinnati can't afford to leave that spot vulnerable with so much riding on this season. And that's really where the concern is right now, protecting Joe Burrow. The Bengals simply can't afford uncertainty on the interior offensive line. Cordell Volson has been getting work at right guard with the second unit, and it may be worth giving him a real shot with the starters. Jalen Rivers is another young name to monitor, and once Matt Lee is fully cleared for team drills, he could factor into the mix as well. Beyond that, Cincinnati may need to explore outside options. A veteran presence at guard could help stabilize the unit, because as it stands, players like Lucas Patrick and Cody Ford look better suited as versatile backups rather than being counted on as starters every week. The Bengals have the offensive firepower to be one of the league's most dangerous teams, but only if Burrow is kept upright. Shoring up the guard spot might be the last big piece to lock in before this team makes its push. The Bengals have to figure this out, and sooner rather than later. What's concerning is that it doesn't even feel like the team sees it as a major issue, when in reality, it absolutely is. Some might say, wait until cut-down day. Maybe someone will shake free. But let's be honest, quality starting guards don't just get cut. Teams hold on to those guys, or they get moved in trades for picks. That's why Cincinnati can't afford to sit back and hope. You never hear a team complain about having too many reliable offensive linemen. If anything, it's the exact opposite. And right now, this roster is one injury away from a real problem in front of Joe Burrow. That's why the offensive line remains the biggest storyline heading into the season. We're now just a few weeks away from the opener on September 7th, and with the Browns' pass rush, Myles Garrett, Mason Graham, that entire front, it's hard not to picture Burrow under constant pressure if this group isn't shored up. No matter how many weapons the Bengals have, it all comes back to keeping number 9 upright. But it wasn't all concern in practice. Running back Chase Brown delivered one of the best highlights of the day on a wheel route down the sideline. Joe Burrow dropped the ball perfectly over his shoulder, and Brown hauled it in against tight coverage, the kind of catch you don't always see from a running back. Plays like that are reminders of just how explosive this offense can be when everything clicks. So, while the offensive line questions aren't going away, the Bengals continue to show why expectations are so high this season. If the defense keeps growing, and the offense stays sharp, Cincinnati has everything it needs, as long as Burrow stays protected. Andre Iosivas capped off his strong day with multiple catches along the sideline, building on the deep ball we mentioned earlier. He continues to look sharp in camp, and could be on the verge of a breakout year. On the injury front, Mike Gesicki, Jermaine Burton, and Cedric Johnson all worked on the rehab field, while Myles Murphy remains out. Something to monitor as we await an update from Zach Taylor. Overall, though, the headline remains clear. Shamar Stewart continues to impress. The offense looks sharp, and Joe Burrow is putting together what might be the best training camp of his career. If this team can stay healthy and solve the protection question, the Bengals will be as dangerous as anyone in the NFL. That's it for today's update. Plenty more to come as we get closer to Monday night's matchup. Stay tuned, because this season is shaping up to be one Bengals fans won't forget.